I'm Mark Viale, and today we're going to shine the spotlight on the election year. And we use these spotlights to bring clarity to hot topics by inviting industry experts, startup founders, marketing leaders to bring clarity, but also just to share their journey and all things growth.
Increasingly, you want to be able to give a specific message to a specific group of people. So I would say that there is definitely some pressure on the big news networks nationally, but your message really wants to resonate within a particular state or within a particular geographic area, which is how things like CTV, which is coming on board, and how things like being able to use local market to be able to reach people from a radio and television perspective and from direct mail perspective. So it doesn't influence national as much as people think. News channels actually are increased viewership, so they're a great place to catch people. We actually were able and were successful with using some of the debates and running performance marketing advertising in a debate, live debate, and getting a great payout from that, which is unheard of, that you can take that kind of primetime activity on a news channel and get a really good payout out of it, but it worked. Yes, thanks, Mark. I definitely double down on the news networks. I mean, they are, first of all, there's this little trick that if you're buying CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, you are also getting Hulu, whether you like it or not. Because people watch those live. They don't wait 3 weeks and then watch it. So the commercials are still embedded in that. The second thing that I think I would be really careful of, and we don't use what we call locals, which is the local break and the national feed. We don't use locals because we've done some analysis and found that they're not really as efficient as we thought they were. But locals is not the place to be during this year, during political year.
Yes, so we did just see the sensitive events policy rollout in Google, and that will be officially rolled out in February. And I think this is the first of many we're going to see this year. So with that one specifically, it's around even so for example, when COVID happened and everybody was marketing for COVID, that kind of style of marketing is not going to be allowed with that new policy as one example. When I think of advertising, I always start with the who. Who are we talking to? And then really trying to understand where do we get that niche and where's that really hyper-focused segmentation at. So I don't think avoiding, spending is the answer, but it is being thoughtful about the approach that you're taking to marketing. What channels are you going to go on? And I think even looking at some of those, thinking about programmatic specifically, so whether that's CTV or streaming, anything like that, I think we're going to have a lot of new content coming out, especially with AI being in the middle of the election year, where you're going to have more misinformation. You're going to have more possibilities to where your ad could show on sensitive topics or contextual targeting. Yes, and a lot of that too has got to do with, which is Google itself specifically, and some of the channels where we've seen inflated CPA numbers more to, just the competitive growth arena, not necessarily, specific to politics, but there is definitely some more aggressive spending even in our competitor sets right now.
I think the biggest trend is just more being spent on digital, especially CTV, OTT, and YouTube. We were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but YouTube especially, with the rollout of YouTube TV, they have all these great options and reaches a huge portion of the public, especially with all of the sports content that they now also run. I think it's going to be very important for campaigns to make sure they're on these platforms as well. Well, TikTok does not allow political spending, so we don't really consider it too much. I mean, I think there's interesting things that campaigns could consider in terms of, working with influencers or creating their own channels, or trying to figure out how to make that like authentic content that resonates with voters. I would say video is really important. Yeah. There's it's it's a good way to deliver a story. It's more persuasive. I definitely think there's a place for display advertising, programmatic display, especially when it comes to like a GOTV turnout. Maybe you have a candidate with really, really low name ID, like things like that. It's a pretty cost-effective way to do that. Also, search ads are not, video ads, but I think extremely important, especially for political campaign.
I actually think that it's a great opportunity as long as you are not taking something away from your other approaches to be able to respond. So if you're having to cut the size, for example, of your URL in an ad in order to be able to put a QR code there, I wouldn't do it. But I love the way Jacuzzi's using it, where it's in the corner, it's not interrupting any of the rest of their activity, but it is there in case somebody wants to use it.